The scratch method is really useful for when you need to add a longer list of numbers. So like if you have more than just two things that you're adding together. Now it does have to be done right to left. So we do have to kind of follow that similar to the standard algorithm. And it technically does have some regrouping too. What's nice about the scratch method though is that you never have to do addition in your head bigger than I would say at the most typically 19, if that. So we're going to go ahead and add through this one. So I would start with the ones place. So I'm going to add the 5, the 6, the 4, and the 8. Now, if I were doing this with the standard algorithm, I would add 5 and 6 and I'd keep track of that answer, and then I'd add 4 to that, and then I'd keep track of that answer, and I'd add 8 to that, and I'd keep doing that. And so the numbers get big, especially if you've got a big long list of numbers. I don't have to do that with the scratch method. So with the scratch method, as soon as I get to 10, I'm going to just scratch and say that scratch counts as 10, and then I'm just going to write down what's left over. So when I do this from top to bottom and I'm going right to left, 5 plus 6 is 11. That is more than 10. So I'm going to think of that as, okay, I got 10. Let me scratch that out. How many's left after I got rid of that 10? Well, there's 1 left, right? Because 5 plus 6 was 11, so that's 1 more than 10. So now I just have to say that's just 1. So now I'm going to take 1 and add it with the rest of this. So 1 plus 4, that's 5. I'm not at 10 yet, so I do have to keep track of that. So I'm at 5. And then 5 plus 8 is 13. 13 is bigger than 10, so I'm going to scratch. And then all that's left over, and I'll go ahead and I'll write it here, is the 3 because I've scratched my 10 off. So now there's just 3 left over. So now I'm going to move on to the next column to the tens place, and I'm going to do the same thing. However, I do need to do some regrouping. So what am I regrouping? All I have to do is count my scratches. So I scratched the 6 and I scratched the 8, so that's 2 scratches. So that means I need to regroup a 2 in the tens place. So actually I'm going to start with that 2 when I add the numbers in this column. So 2 plus 9 would be the first thing I do in the tens place. 2 plus 9 is 11, so that is more than 10, so I'm going to scratch and write a 1, since after the 10, there's just 1 left over. And then that 1 I'm going to add to the 6, so 1 plus 6 is 7, not to 10 yet, so I'm going to keep going. 7 plus 4 is 11, so I'm going to scratch and write a 1. 1 plus 9 is 10, so I'm going to scratch and write a 0. So I do have a lot of like regrouping and things. So I do need to keep track of like where my numbers are. But this is the idea. And now if I look at that tens place all the way down that column, how many times did I scratch? I scratched 1, 2, 3 times. So that means I'm going to regroup a 3 over here in the hundreds place. Now in the hundreds place, the only thing I have are a couple ones there, and now this 3, right? So I do have to keep track of like this 1 that I wrote. Where is that? Well, that was actually of my 10. So like you can't have a lot of numbers in different places, so you do have to keep track of things or maybe rearrange and put them elsewhere. So I'm going to add the numbers in the hundreds place. 3 plus 1 is 4. That's not 10 yet, so I'm going to keep going. 4 plus 1 is 5. I never did reach 10, so I'm just going to write 5. There were no scratches in that column, so there's nothing to regroup. And this is my answer. My answer here is 503.